Langley, Virginia, 1990. The CIA had just finished building their new headquarters courtyard. The architects had signed off. The security teams had swept the building. The generals had walked the grounds. And right there, in the center of it all, they had installed a sculpture that none of them could read. It was called Kryptos, a copper scroll, twisted like a wave, covered in 865 letters arranged in 4 encrypted messages. The artist, Jim Sanborn, had hidden something inside the metal, a secret buried inside the most secretive building on Earth. The CIA's best cryptanalysts walked past it every single day. They couldn't crack it. 35 years later, they still can't. This is the story of the one puzzle that has defeated mathematicians, cryptographers, CIA directors, and some of the most powerful computers ever built. A puzzle sitting in plain sight, in the middle of the world's most powerful intelligence agency, unsolved. And the man who built it says the answer has been there the whole time. To understand why Kryptos matters, you need to understand where it lives. The CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia is not a place where things go unexplained. It is a building designed around the systematic elimination of uncertainty. The people who work there spend their careers turning chaos into intelligence, noise into signal, secrets into answers. They are professionally, institutionally, constitutionally allergic to not knowing. The courtyard where Kryptos stands is visible from the cafeteria windows. Analysts eat their lunch looking at it. Officers walk past it on their way to briefings. People who have spent their entire careers extracting secrets from the most guarded institutions on Earth pass this sculpture every single day. And every single day, one section of it defeats them. Jim Sanborn was not an intelligence officer. He was an artist. In 1988, the CIA commissioned him to create a sculpture for the new headquarters building. They gave him access to CIA facilities, to encryption experts, to the physical space. They gave him a budget and a deadline. What they didn't give him was instructions on how hard to make it. He decided on his own. Sanborn worked with a retired CIA cryptographer named Ed Scheit, who taught him the fundamentals of encryption, substitution ciphers, transposition methods, the techniques that intelligence services had used for decades to hide information inside plain text. Sanborn absorbed the knowledge and then went further. He designed a system specifically intended to defeat the people who would be most motivated to break it. He was building a trap for the world's best code breakers, and he was installing it in their own backyard. The sculpture was unveiled on November 3, 1990. It stands about 12 feet tall. The copper surface is covered in letters, 865 of them, punched through the metal so that light passes through. There are 4 separate encrypted sections. Sanborn called them K1, K2, K3, and K4. He told no one what they said. For the first 8 years, nothing happened publicly. The CIA employees who worked near Kryptos attempted informal decryption on their lunch breaks and after hours. A few made progress. None finished. The sculpture became a kind of institutional obsession, the unsolved thing in the building full of people who solve things for a living. Then in 1998, a computer scientist named Jim Gilligley cracked the first 3 sections from his home using publicly available tools and his own considerable skill. He didn't work for the CIA. He wasn't a professional cryptographer. He was an enthusiast who had heard about the sculpture and decided to try. He succeeded where the CIA's internal efforts had failed. When his solution became public, the CIA quietly confirmed that they had actually solved the first 3 sections internally in 1992, 6 years earlier, but it kept the solution classified. The world's most secretive intelligence agency had classified the solution to a public artwork installed in their own courtyard and told nobody. The solutions to the first 3 sections were eventually made public. K1, the first section, was encrypted using a method called Vigenère cipher combined with a keyword. When decoded, it read like an atmospheric fragment, a description of a location, a feeling of being underground, a sense of buried things. It ended mid-thought, as if the first section was only the beginning of a longer sentence. K2 was longer, more substantial. When decoded, it contained what appeared to be a description of an excavation, a location, coordinates. The language was precise and deliberate, the kind of description someone writes when they want another person to find something specific. It referenced a buried object. It referenced Howard, which many analysts interpreted as a reference to Howard Carter, the archaeologist who discovered Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922. K3 was different. When decoded, it appeared to be a paraphrased passage from the diary of Howard Carter himself, describing the moment he first looked into Tutankhamun's tomb on November 26, 1922. The specific moment of discovery. The candle. The darkness. The gold. 3 sections decoded. 1 remaining. K4 has 97 letters. 97 characters standing between the world's cryptographic community and a complete solution. Nobody has cracked it. The people who have tried to break K4 are not amateurs. The National Security Agency attempted it. The NSA is the largest signals intelligence organization in the world. They employ more mathematicians than any other institution on Earth. Their computational resources are classified but widely understood to be extraordinary. They worked on K4. They failed. Prominent cryptographers from academic institutions across the United States and Europe have attempted systematic attacks on the cipher. Some have published their methods and partial results. None have published a solution. Online communities dedicated to Kryptos have existed for decades. Some of their members are professional cryptographers. Some are mathematicians. Some are intelligence professionals working on it in their spare time. They have collectively spent hundreds of thousands of hours on the problem. 97 letters. Still unbroken. What makes K4 particularly difficult is that it is short. In cryptography, length is your friend. The longer a ciphertext, the more statistical patterns emerge that allow an analyst to identify the underlying system and work backward to the plaintext. 97 letters provides very little material to work with. The statistical fingerprints are faint. Sanborn has provided 2 hints over the years. The first came in 2010, when he confirmed that the letters NYPVT in the ciphertext correspond to the plaintext word Berlin. The second came in 2020, when he confirmed that MZFPK corresponds to clock. Berlin. Clock. The community analyzed these clues exhaustively. They narrowed the possible encryption methods. They tested hundreds of approaches against the known plaintext anchors. They got closer. Not close enough. There is something else about Kryptos that most people don't know. The sculpture itself is not just the copper scroll. There are other elements in the installation: granite slabs, a compass rose, a Morse code message on the surrounding stonework. Sanborn has indicated that the full solution requires understanding all the elements together, not just the encrypted text on the copper panel. The Morse code on the stone contains its own message. It includes words like shadow, lucid, abscissa, navigational and geometric terms that analysts believe are related to the coordinates mentioned in K2. K2 contains specific coordinates. When those coordinates were calculated, they pointed to a location approximately 150 feet from the sculpture itself, on the CIA grounds. The CIA reportedly excavated or examined that location. What they found, if anything, has never been made public. A secret inside the headquarters of the world's most secretive intelligence agency, pointed to by an encrypted sculpture, confirmed by an excavation whose results are classified. The layers of this thing have no visible bottom. Sanborn has said that the complete message, when all 4 sections are finally decoded and understood together, will reveal something. He has been deliberately vague about what. He has said it is connected to the theme of secrets and revelation. He has said that the final answer involves a location and an object. He has suggested, in interviews, that some of what he buried may be literal, that there may be something physically hidden somewhere, waiting to be found. He is now in his late 70s. He has said publicly that he worries he will die before anyone solves it. He has said he is considering leaving a sealed solution with a third party to be opened after his death to ensure the answer survives him. The man who built the puzzle is running out of time. In 2014, something strange happened. A researcher named David Stein, who worked as an analyst at the CIA, published an account of how he had spent 400 hours over several years working on Kryptos during his lunch breaks using only pencil and paper. He had solved the first 3 sections independently, arriving at the same solution as Gilligley through completely different methods. His solution had been classified by the CIA in 1998. He had solved it. The CIA had told nobody. He had continued walking past the sculpture every day, carrying a classified solution to a public artwork, unable to tell anyone that he had cracked it. This detail says something about the institution, something that the people who work there probably understand without being told. The CIA classifies things because classification is what they do. It is reflexive, institutional. The solution to a public artwork is not a state secret in any meaningful sense. Nobody's safety depended on keeping it classified, but it was generated inside the building by someone with a clearance, and so it became classified. The sculpture designed to make them uncomfortable, to sit in their space as an unresolved challenge, had generated a classified document. Sanborn, when he heard about this, reportedly found it amusing. He had built a puzzle for them. They had solved part of it, and then hidden their own solution from themselves. The code-breaking community has a theory about why K4 has survived this long. The theory is that Sanborn didn't just use a standard cipher for K4. They believe he combined multiple encryption methods in a way that creates interference, where the techniques work against each other, making statistical analysis much harder than it would be with any single method. Some analysts believe there is a deliberate error or anomaly in K4, similar to a confirmed transposition error in K2 that Sanborn acknowledged years after the sculpture was installed. If K4 contains a deliberate anomaly, a misspelling, a transposition, an intentional deviation, then every solution attempt that assumes a clean ciphertext is working from a false premise. The puzzle would be designed to defeat people who assume the puzzle is solvable through standard methods, which would mean the only way to solve it is to start from the assumption that it isn't solvable through standard methods. That is a very particular kind of trap, the kind that a former CIA cryptographer would design specifically for the kind of people who work at the CIA. Sanborn has said one other thing in interviews that the code-breaking community has turned over many times. He has said that the complete message of Kryptos is about the nature of intelligence work itself, about the idea that the most important things are not always the things that are most carefully guarded, about the relationship between what we know and what we think we know, about the gap between those two things, which is where most of the interesting things in history happen to live. He built the sculpture for the CIA, but he has said he thinks the message inside it is universal, that everyone, not just intelligence analysts, walks past encrypted things every day without knowing it, that the world is full of Kryptos, surfaces covered in signals that mean something to someone that most people never try to decode. The difference between the CIA employees who walk past the sculpture and everyone else is that the CIA employees know they can't read it. Most people don't even notice the letters. 35 years. The Cold War ended. The Soviet Union collapsed. The digital age arrived. Computers that would have seemed like science fiction in 1990 now sit in pockets and solve problems in milliseconds that once took weeks. 97 letters remain unbroken. Jim Sanborn is still alive. He still knows the answer. He has said he finds the situation strange, to be the only person in the world who knows something that thousands of brilliant people are trying to find out. To walk through life carrying a secret that other people are professionally dedicated to extracting. He knows what it feels like to be on the other side of the intelligence equation, to be the one who knows. The CIA was built on the idea that secrets can always be found, that enough resources and enough intelligence and enough time will eventually unlock anything. Kryptos is the rebuke to that idea, installed in their own building, visible from their cafeteria windows. 97 letters. The answer exists. It has always existed. It is sitting in the memory of one man in his late 70s, encoded in copper on a sculpture that thousands of the world's best analytical minds have failed to read. The most secure vault in the world turned out not to be a steel room in Langley. It was the inside of an artist's head, and nobody has found the key.